A very good morning to you all. Thank you for joining us. My name is Simon Grimley, and I'm advisor to Thailand's National Science and Technology Development Agency, or NSTDA, where I work with the International Cooperation Group, helping strengthen NSTDA and Thailand's cooperation ties with Europe. I'll be moderating the session today. And I'd like to welcome you to this information session on French research funding and cooperation opportunities for Thai researchers. We're co-organizing this with the French Embassy in Thailand, as well as with two French research institutes, CIRAD and IRD, which are leading French institutes that have operations, have a base here in Thailand. So you'll learn more from them a little bit later in the program. We're organizing this event as part of the European Research and Innovation Days, ASEAN, and this is a series of events which are taking place. Well, it began on the November 1st. Will continue for another couple of weeks. It's a series of information sessions, training sessions, workshops focused on climate change, global health, and science diplomacy. I would encourage you to please check the program with the QR code here, because there are some interesting activities coming up that might be of interest to you, including sessions on how to get your research published. We have a very interesting session on science communication and how you define the impact of your research. That'll take place on the 13th of December. So please have a look at this program of events. We are this morning very fortunate to have some excellent presenters joining us. So I'd encourage you to take full advantage of the session this morning. And by that I mean, please ask lots and lots of questions. Don't be shy. We won't say necessarily who's asking the question, but any question we welcome, and we'll do our best to answer these as we move along this morning. We will also share the presentations, all presentations that you will see this morning. We will share these immediately following the session today. So I think it's time to get started. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to a good friend of NSTDA's. His name is Dr. Guillaume, and he is the Attaché for Scientific and Higher Cooperation at the French Embassy in Thailand. Guillaume, are you there?
Hello, thank you very much, Simon. Hello, everyone. Can you hear us?
I can hear you well, very clear.
So as you said, good friend of NSTDA, so we will make a two voices presentation with my friend and colleague Benoit at the embassy. So thank you, and good morning, everyone. And it's a nice opportunity actually for us to present and to echo different current cooperation, as well as the possibilities for new collaboration, to start new collaboration with France, and especially the European Research and Innovation Days. So I believe that, as you know, that is highly connected with other countries. So France can be also a part of the journey. So I'd like to maybe start with few slides. Oh yeah, sorry, I should say next slide. I'd like to start with the next slide, please. Yes, so just in brief, to say that if you are not familiar with France, I'd like to mention here that it's of course France and in Europe by extension. So research is very internationalized. So with several French scientific, of course, collaboration with their counterparts in Asia all around the world. And thanks also to some main research bodies and organizations, such as today, like you have CIRAD and IRD, as it was mentioned by Simon, but also others in health. For example, you may have heard about the Pasteur in CERN, or in the environment. You also have other specific research organizations. And I would say even sometimes with a high recovery with activities of NSTDA and some faculties and departments from Thai universities. And I see that there's some attendees from all around Thailand, which is very fortunate for us to communicate to them. And also I'd like to mention one more point. I think today it has been reviewed, but it's more than 40% of the PhD students in France. They are from outside France. Actually, there's a lot of collaboration through research, and as we all know, research is also very and highly linked to the capacity of the PhD training, the doctoral school, the graduate school, and so it's more than 40%, not from France, actually, of the people and the candidates are doing a PhD. So there's place, of course, for more and more students from Thailand in that case. And so next slide, please. I'd like to mention also that as far as we are concerned, like the French embassy, as you know, we have we are working closely with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but also with the Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research, Innovation, the French side. And so here in Thailand, next slide, please. We have, of course, a strong support from these two ministries. And through, as it was mentioned by Simon, scientific diplomacy, I would say. And to illustrate that, I'd just like to mention, we will mention with Benoit, the three main programs we have. It's not limited to, but it's really, in brief, maybe the message we would like to convey to all of you is that we have actually designed specific program for Thai citizens and outbound mobilities, where if they are, whether they are like students or young researchers or teams, they may have some interest for these three different types of programs. Here, this slide. So you see the Franco-Thai scholarship program, which is currently actually open, is a scholarship program, and we have a focus for the master and PhDs candidates. It's both master and PhD degrees. And the call is open right now. I think Benoit and we will give you more details after that. So it's really for not necessarily students today, but the people who are willing to enroll in a master degree in France or enroll in a PhD degree in France. We have a call for that annual call. And the second one is the Junior Research Fellowship Program, as we call this a fellowship. Here is also an individual fellowship for people who can stay for a shorter time in a French laboratory, and this time can cover can be supported for 2 to 6 months in France. So as you may see on this slide, that you notice here that the success rate is higher than the first one. Let's say the first one is highly competitive, the second one is competitive as well, and for both of them, of course, it's individual fellowship or scholarship. And also the criteria is the criteria of academic excellence, I would say, number one. And the last one is not an individual fellowship, it's a bilateral program together with NSTDA here in Thailand. It has been developed for more than 10 years now. And it's a mobility program as well, but for teams, for the research teams. So it's really like to elaborate together with a counterpart, another team in France, a kind of project, research-based project to be developed and to start collaboration. Actually, is really the idea of this project, like for seed money for new projects between Thailand and France, and it's open to any kind of researchers from French side, the PIs. Actually. And the success rate is also here mentioned on this slide. Next slide, please. It was mentioned, there's 3 different programs, and they are actually proposed and they coexist actually in annual call. It's a series actually of timeline here described on the slide for each of them. So the Junior Research Fellowship Program on the left side, as you can see, the application, the deadline has passed, but now it's under evaluation for final results, and mobility is to be started in 2022. And the Franco-Thai Scholarship Program on blue, in blue color, it's open to application right now. And so if you have some interest for this as a supervisor, as a student, or more in general, more information about that, please come to us and to Campus France. I should mention here also, as you've probably seen on the first slide, that we are working and have we are at the embassy also together with us, Campus France, And Campus France, it consists of people here, 2 people, but it's linked with the main agency in Paris, and so we can get some more information for you if you are looking for this kind of information, of course. To prepare, to identify laboratories, to prepare the stay in France, and so on and so forth. And the last program in red color on the right side is the non-individual research program, 2 years program I mentioned before. It is called PhD, and it's a joint supported program by both ministry and Thai ministries from French side and Thai side, and also universities and research institutes. Next slide, please. So I'd like to mention here also to give you a little bit more detail about the scholarship program, since it is open right now for application, and to show you that for the last 10 years, this you can see on the right side of the slide, the fields of study. So it's a bottom-up program. So it's a matter of fact, actually, that we have this distribution of fields. And as you can see, based on the data for the last 10 years, we have more than 50%, I would say even 60% of the fields of studies which map with, for example, NSTDA field of studies, and of course, to a larger extent, to other kind of fields. But as you can see, you have life sciences, engineering, let's say hard sciences, but there are also some space for other kind of areas, such as social sciences and others. So we are still quite supported by our ministry, and I'd like to mention also, thanks to the support of some institution in Thailand and also other kind of institution, private or public, we can elaborate a kind of scholarship actually to be built. So this is something we can also discuss, let's say case by case, as long as we have normally 20 to 25 new scholarship per year. So with that, I'd like to give the floor to Benoit to continue on the other program.
The second program, as we mentioned, is the Junior Research Fellowship Program. It's for the targeting people for that program is postgraduate student, well, postgraduate researcher. It's an opportunity for spending 2 up to 6 months in a French research laboratory, institution, whatever, to conduct a scientific project. These programs do support Thai postdoctorate lecture on researcher in public or private institutions. We have more than 100 young researchers since 2011, and we do send between 10 and on 12, could be up to 15 candidates can be selected out of all applications. As we mentioned, we currently are in the selection process for the 2020 laureates, and generally we send our laureates starting April for an opening call around the month of August. Next slide, please. You can see here some data about the Junior Research Fellowship. As we mentioned, we have in the same for the scholarship program. As you can see, there is a large variety of domain of research with all of those domains represented here. And I would like to mention the fact that there's numbers that figures do not well actually fit the actual repartition of application we receive. So it's open for every domain as well. Again, the only criteria is the excellency of the academic background and the scientific quality of the project intended to be conducted in France. It's useful for co-publication, of course, and to building new partnership, especially with specialized French institute laboratories or prospective partners that you want to work with in France. I would like to mention the fact that here at the embassy we have the scientific section, and because of that we are absolutely willing to help you to identify prospective partner depending of your domain research. Or so do not hesitate to contact us if you need any information about research institute. So next slide, please. So the third one, named PhD SciAm, we are currently under process of reviewing application 2 for starting project on January 2022. This is a 2-year staff mobility support, so it aims to support mobility of teams, can be researchers, senior, junior, can be PhD student, can be master degree student, can be even administrative staff within the laboratories. The PhD program is aggregated around a scientific project presented by a team, co-leaded by one French and one Thai project leaders. And it aims to reinforce, to strengthen the cooperation between two research institutes. As you can see on the screen and the data, we have almost 150 projects supported since 10 years now. And we generally select between 10 and 12 projects out of 35. This is the average of the application we receive. And I would like to mention that if even if we support mobility, and despite the current situation, we manage the team actually managed to make mobility in France and in Thailand, despite the situation, because we work with the selected project, we work with the different institutions to do our best to realize those mobility. It supports high-level scientific cooperation between France and Thailand, this project, and the criteria include quality of the project, involvement of young researcher, because all of our program aim to basically support researcher in their early career to launch, if I can say like that, their early researcher career, and to support early cooperation, bilateral cooperation, but not only. This is a complementary between both sides and aim to provide long-term benefits. As we mentioned earlier, this is a co-funding program, co-funding by the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the French Ministry in Thailand and universities in Thailand. Generally, the open call is around May, and the project begins on every New Year for 2 years. So next slide, please. So I would like to say that those 3 programs we presented to you are specifically designed for Thai national researchers. It means that one of the eligibility criteria to apply for this program is to be Thai national, with a little specificity on the PhD, because this is a co-leaded with the French with the French institute, a French partner. But those programs are limited to the Thai institution and Thai research. But aside of that, France do have other scholarship or other support program. But generally, these programs are competitive at the global level. We would like to present you an example of this program, named MOPCA, for Make Our Planet Great Again. It's an initiative from the President Macron, and aim, for example, here in this program, aim targeting applicants of all nationalities except French national, to provide 40 fellowship for a 12-month period starting September 2022, with the benefit you can see here on the screen. So a monthly allowance, moving allowance to support of social security coverage, and support of health insurance. So basically, this is the benefits you can have in the scholarship as well, on the fellowship as well, and all the kind of individual support that you can receive in French programs. Next slide, please. So yeah, so here you can find some information about the MOPCA design, with the research temporized, because it is an initiative in order to tackle climate change, so Earth system, climate change sustainability, energy transition, social change, environmental issues, human, animal, ecosystem health as part of One Health approach, which is a very important initiative, even here in Southeast Asia, with the calendar detail below. So this is one example of call of application designed for foreign national researcher to conduct project in France. Next slide, please. Okay. So aside of this program, we aim to should I say to find a roster of alumni who receive benefits from our programs, in order to build different relation between, I mean, at the bilateral level between the French and Thai side, but even within the Thai alumni who can like receive benefits and interaction, as they were partner of French institution. And for that, we have here at the Embassy Campus France, which is an agency, a French agency, who aim to promote research and studies in France, and who manage to the alumni network. So it happens very regularly that we organize some events for alumni around different research thematics and field of research. So next slide, please. Oh, okay, I'll let my colleague conclude.
Thank you, Benoit. So you gave me the opportunity to mention that alumni, and I'd like to thank you, the alumni, today attending this info session. And so this is important, of course, to keep the link between the people, we believe. We think we need to improve on that also, and we'd like to, of course, thanks to some ideas and gathering like that, we believe that it will also be positive for both sides, actually. So it was mentioned when it comes to mobility, outbound and inbound, there's some programs. But we can think also about, there's also other kind of program here listed here that we contribute to. For example, the RJJ program, for example. There's also other program from French side and from other types of programs. So it's really like for mobility of different types of students or researchers. But there's also interaction in Thailand or in the region. And with that, I'd like to mention that we are happy to have today two of these institutions with researchers embedded in Thai institutions, namely IID and CIRAD, but you also have in Thailand, so you will see the presentation just after. But there's also some other researchers in the region or in Thailand from CNRS, as you know, the French National Research Institute, and also IRASEC, which is based in Bangkok for social and contemporary social sciences from Southeast Asia. So there's multiple ways of collaboration with France. It's either to include like mobility or to apply to mobility scheme and program, but also to start eventually with the existing collaboration here with some researchers based here, and that can be also another way to start discussing, to start also to gain some visibility or some information actually on the topics developed with the delegates from these institutions here. And so there will be also some people to testify testimony of that today. I think now it's time for I believe for Michel from CIRAD. So we have finished for our presentation so far, and happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guillaume, and thank you, Benoit, for an excellent presentation. Very clear on the range of programs that you are offering to researchers here in Thailand. I took away just a few messages that I thought it might be helpful to reinforce. First of all, these are programs that you have developed specifically for Thai researchers, which this is something that not all countries offer to Thai researchers. I noted that the success rate is relatively high when you compare it to some of the other programs that are out there. Some of the the EU programs, for example. The programs are bottom up, which gives the researcher a lot of flexibility. In other words, you can decide on your research topic and develop that with your partners in France. And then also the programs that you offer, sort of cover all stages of your research career. Master's, PhD, all the way through to postdoc. Another point that I sort of noted is the fact that there's, you've got, as a Thai researcher, you have support right here in Thailand. I mean, Guillaume, you're here in Bangkok, Benoit's here in Bangkok. So there is support to provide advice, guide you in your application, maybe help you identify French partners, et cetera. So I think that's very important. Obviously, the alumni network, and we're going to hear from a couple of alumni a bit later on this morning. That's something that is particularly valuable, I think, where sort of you can speak to your colleagues about their experience in France and lessons learned. And I guess the final point too is that there are not just these Franco-Thai programs, but there are other programs such as the Make Our Planet Great Again, programs like that, which, though not specifically designed for Thailand, Thai researchers can certainly apply for. And actually, one more point, which is just looking at the slide in front of us here, the fact that too that France has research institutes that have operations here in Thailand. So this offers a tremendous opportunity, I think, to begin your research cooperation in Thailand without having to leave Thailand. I mean, you've got people here that you can approach and talk to. One question we've got here, we get this quite often. So the question is, I'm a master's student here in Thailand, but I'm not Thai. I'm not a Thai national. So what would your advice be on applying for a PhD, a French PhD for a non-Thai national? Perhaps they're at AIT or somewhere like that, that is here in Thailand. What would be your advice to them? Guillaume, Benoit?
depending on their citizenship, if they are from the region, they can also go through in their country. They may find some ways, also similar program that we develop here for Thai national, and for example, if it's citizen from Vietnam, from Cambodia, from surrounding countries, they have also similar types of scholarships. So I'm not in the region. Okay, thank you very much for your answer. So it could be also included in some mobility schemes and not necessarily individual fellowships, as it was mentioned here. So it's possible for non-specific scholarship. If you look at the FL program, for example, it's open and it's a global scholarship for any kind of citizenship, but it's highly, of course, highly selective process, but it's a way, but it has to be connected through the hosting institute in France, and of course institutes in France and universities may have their program as well. So we can also play a role in advising, if you can specify later on your demand, and eventually with some institutions, they also have their kind of scholarship. And thank you very much, Simon. I'd like to say that for Thai citizens, the two main programs, it's 100% chance of success, right? So thank you very much.
Okay. And if a second question has just come in, so if they're not from the region, they're not from Southeast Asia, your advice to them would be, I mean, presumably there are Campus France offices attached to French embassies around the world. That would be
yeah, Campus France offices, and eventually, of course, Campus Bourse. You can see on this slide, you have also a link on the blue square. It's campusbourse.campusfrance.org. This is a list of all the different types of scholarship for all the world, all around the world, where you have a list of, I think, more than 400 types of scholarship and mobility program listed. And depending on your country, you can also apply. So I think you can get some information. If it's not fully comprehensive, come to.
And perhaps one more question, just the Junior Research Fellowship program is closed now, but will that call open again next year?
Yeah, all of the three programs we presented to you are yearly programs. So as we showed to you the calendar for year 2021 and 22, it's basically every year that we launch call of those three programs.
Understood. Okay. Next, I think we will move to a presentation by Dr. Michel de Garine-Wichatitsky, who is the representative of CIRAD, the French Agricultural Research Center for International Development here, and he's here in Bangkok. So he will inform us about the work that CIRAD is doing in Thailand and elsewhere in the region, and opportunities for you to connect with their network. So, Michel, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Simon, and good morning, everyone. So my name is Michel de Garine-Wichatitsky. You're very brave trying to pronounce that, actually, Simon. And I'm French. I'm the representative of CIRAD. And before I get into the details of what my organization is doing, especially in the Thailand and in the region, just to situate CIRAD in the landscape of research activities in France, actually. So, you know, in France, we've got private laboratories doing research, also universities, and there are a number of public institutions that are actually carrying out research. So there were mentions of some of them by Guillaume just before. CIRAD is a public research entity specifically working on agriculture for development. Next slide. So our mandate is global, and CIRAD is actually present in more than 100 countries around the world. So you can see that there are some researchers that are currently based in Central and South America, in Africa, where a lot of activities historically of CIRAD have been implemented, but also in Southeast Asia. And the way CIRAD is structuring the research activities is actually to concentrate in what we call dispositifs prioritaires, DPs, which are research and education platform in partnership. And as you can see on this map, some of these dispositifs prioritaires are found in the main continents, so in South America, Africa, and in Southeast Asia. So CIRAD has been operating for a very long time, decades, and doing operational research on the main topics that are linked with sustainable agriculture. So in terms of the main topics, they are actually very much in line with all the sustainable development goals addressing climate change and agriculture, the questions of global health and agriculture, agroecology and agroecological transitions toward more sustainable agriculture, and all the topics, as I said, globally that are linking agricultural practices and sustainable development. So currently, as I mentioned, CIRAD is more than 400 researchers that are assigned abroad from France, and the main laboratories in France are actually located in Montpellier, the southeastern part of France, and some researchers also in Paris. So currently, the active portfolio is very wide and covering research funding from many sources, from Europe, obviously, the French AFD, which is the Agence Française de Développement, USAID, and the Global Fund for Environment. So very wide variety of funding sources. And we're a research institute, so we also evaluated on the production that we do. So a lot of scientific articles published each year. And one thing which is very important for CIRAD is actually the co-publication with our partners, because part of CIRAD mission is not only to do research, but there is a very strong emphasis on doing research in partnership. And that's what I would like to illustrate in the next slides. Next slide, please. So to achieve that, there are a number of, so promoting the collaboration and partnership between CIRAD researchers and a very wide array of different research partners, research and development partners. We do have a number of internal sources of funding. So that would be part of the core funding of CIRAD, and it would be internal call for proposal. So some would be specifically targeted for PhDs from our partners in Southern Hemisphere or Southern region. Another one would be more specifically also in trying to strengthen relationship and competencies for different researchers. So that would be some inbound, some schemes that would be supporting movements and some stays of in laboratories in France with CIRAD researchers, and then some specific support schemes for supporting some of the what I call the dispositifs en partenariat, these research platforms, to specifically give support to the functioning, the meetings, or training in these entities which are in partnership. Having said that, these support schemes are not specific for Thai researchers, so that would mean any application would have to be made through CIRAD laboratory, a research unit, and would be in competition with some applications from all around the world. So it's quite competitive, but it's a potential source of funding to try to promote collaboration with between CIRAD and Thai researchers. Next slide, please. Specifically in Thailand, CIRAD has been present and collaborating with research partners in Thailand for more than 20 years. So we are very long time friends of Thai researchers, and the number of researchers that are permanently based, that have been permanently based in Thailand varied. The maximum was 15 researchers. We are currently 5 researchers based in Bangkok, so it fluctuates. And obviously the horrendous COVID-19 period has had a strong effect on the movements of researchers, both from France, but also from Thailand. So clearly, currently, as I said, we have 5 researchers. I'm based in Bangkok, and I'm talking from Bangkok to you. And we've got a number of Thai partners. One of our historical and current very strong partners is CIRAD University, but we also collaborate with many other universities or research entities, so NSTDA and TAICA, and also some private operators, especially as we are structured on 2 main thematic areas, which are very the core of our research activities currently in Thailand with Thai partners. So the first one is on EVA research platform in partnership. So that's addressing any question from the production in plantations all the way to the transformation of the latex and links with the industry. So this is very also old partnership, very lively, a lot of discussions, new program happening. And so it's called the HRPP. And that's one arena where there are a lot of partnership projects that are carrying out, but also support to students. And that would be one of our core ways of strengthening partnerships with newcomers on this specific topic of EVA production. Next slide. The second historical but also current very important area of activities for CIRAD is on emerging diseases and everything concerning the One Health approaches. And the dispositif en partenariat, the platform is called GREES, for the management of emerging risk in Southeast Asia. And it's a very strong partnership, not only with Thai entities, especially, as I mentioned, the Faculty of Veterinary Science, VetTech in CIRAD University, but also in the region. It involves some partners from Indonesia, Philippines, Cambodia, Laos in the region. And as I said, a lot of projects are under the umbrella of that dispositif en partenariat, including some teaching and some postgraduate master's degree. And I should mention the master's inter-risk that was actually coordinated by CIRAD, but a joint venture between a French university, which is University of Toulouse and CIRAD University, for a master's degrees that were, the courses were done actually in Thailand. So that was also a very good opportunity for co-supervising and co-badging students. This current initiative is actually being updated, so we hope that there will be a next phase for this masters. So apart from these 2 very important entities for our collaboration with Thai researchers, the GREES network on emerging diseases, but also the HRPP on rubber production and transformation, there are a lot of movements and missions by CIRAD researchers coming to Thailand and to the region. Next slide, please. And that's something where I would like to emphasize the importance of these movements for CIRAD researchers, in addition to the CIRAD researchers based permanently in Thailand. But a lot of missions coming from the region are actually coming to Thailand and then working in the neighboring countries and developing other activities. And that's for us a very great and important opportunity to work with Thai researchers, with a collaboration between CIRAD Thai researchers, but also entities, research activities with the neighboring countries in Southeast Asia, as I mentioned. And we can use this opportunity to try, we've got other dispositifs en partenariat, in addition to what I mentioned, Greece and HRPP, but also another one called Malika, which is based mostly in Vietnam, looking at markets and agricultural linkages for cities. And another one, which is more regional, looking at sustainable management of agro-ecosystems and agroecology. So these are also some existing entities that would be a very good platform for collaboration between Thai researchers, CIRAD, and for implementation in the region. And I would like to end up my presentation by just mentioning current opportunities through existing projects, which is a very important way of strengthening our collaboration for between Thai researchers and CIRAD researchers. Especially, there was a mention of the One Planet Summit that was launched at the beginning of the year. And there is the Pre-ZODI initiative, which is for preventing zoonotic disease emergence. And this is, there's been a number of workshops where we co-design the next activities starting next year. And I know a lot of several partners from Thailand participated actively in this process, but that would provide funding opportunities in the future for such collaboration. Another one is directly under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and is actually managed from Bangkok. That's a regional initiative on One Health, so One Health in Southeast Asia in practice. And although Thailand as such is not eligible for the activities, there is a very strong incentive in having Thai researchers associating with French researchers and working especially in Cambodia and Laos in the region. And the last one is not only about research activities, research projects, which again, I say are very important to strengthen our collaboration, but also about opportunities for training, postgraduate training, where CIRAD is very much involved also in making sure we can develop the next curricula, the next opportunities for training in the region. So one is ongoing on sustainable management of big plantations in the region. And I will end up my presentation here. Please, all questions are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michel. I've seen the CIRAD presentation a couple of times, but I'm always impressed by the amount of or the level of ongoing activity, and I learn new things each time. I think a key point, and I said it earlier, is that this is quite unique that you've got an institution, a French institution that has a base here in Southeast Asia, is active, very active, not just in Thailand but in the region, and has a number of ongoing initiatives which welcome in additional researchers. So I think that's something that makes CIRAD really quite unique as a European research entity. The fact that it is here, because you mentioned, the program, the Greece program, the rubber program, the One Health, the regional program. These are all programs that are up and running, and from what you've said, would welcome researchers to or open to new researchers coming into those programs. Something else that, and I've heard it before, but just the number of, or the amount of movement there is between researchers in Thailand and researchers in France, and the movement back and forth. You talked about 500 mission days per year, which is, so all of those missions, I assume, offer an opportunity for Thai researchers to meet with French counterparts and so on to discuss potential collaboration. There's a question here, and I'm not sure if this is really for you, Michel, or for Guillaume, but often we get this is, for these programs, what are the deliverables or outcomes that are being expected by the funder, by the French government, in terms of these collaborations? So I realize that's quite a broad question, but it's come up a few times already this morning. So who would like to have a go at that?
Maybe
Michel, please.
Yeah, just one clarification on that last slide. The programs I present there is involvement of CIRAD researchers, but the coordination is not solely done by CIRAD. For instance, the PRISOD initiative is a global thing, and CIRAD with IRD are actually involved in the coordination of the Southeast Asia initiative. But I mean, there are a lot of other partners that are involved. It's the same for the One Health Southeast Asia initiative. This is funding by the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's coordinating by the French embassy based in Bangkok, and with involvement of several researchers, including one from CIRAD, CNRS. So all these initiatives, actually, there is some input, but we're not solely responsible for the implementation.
I understand.
And making sure that the delivery is actually matching the expectations of the different donors that are behind. So that's why I will leave now, specifically to answer your question, I'll leave it to Guillaume probably.
Guillaume?
Yes, Simon, just for clarification, you said the level of, I could not hear your question clearly.
No, the question was, and I think this is probably directed at the the junior research fellowships, et cetera. That what for the programs that you described earlier, what are the deliverables or outcomes that are expected?
Oh yeah.
So if you get a junior research fellowship, what are you as the the funder looking for?
I think it's very light, honestly speaking.
It's very light. Did you
because
say very light?
Very light.
Okay, that's
yeah, it's not very in terms of output. What we look is actually the impact on collaboration efforts, for example, or how it can be included into that. But we are not competent ourselves to look at the, for example, research output, I mean, in details. But I'd like to mention here, because you give me the opportunity, when there's a submission, when there's an application, it is actually reviewed, it is evaluated by a pool of experts. So it's like a peer review. So a pool of experts assigned from the ministry. So depending on the topic, then it will be sent to a number of experts to evaluate whether it is, academically and in research-wise, a solid and strong project for research and production of knowledge, of course. And that's one step before. And the step after, if your question is how we evaluate the number of, for example, publication and KPI, let's say, for this program, it's not directly evaluated. It's evaluated every, like at the timeline of research, every like few years, it is a very strong argument to continue to receive some support for this program. So it's more like a collective evaluation rather than an individual evaluation. If it's clear, I don't know if it's clear enough, but that's important. Thank you for this question.
Well, I think it's clear to me. I think what you're saying is I mean, it's jointly, it's a bilateral scheme, jointly evaluated. It has to be, the value has to be perceived on both sides. Is that correct?
Yes, jointly evaluated for PhD. One way evaluated for research, for junior research, and jointly evaluated on the long term by the ministries, both sides, to continue to support these programs. There's a different level of evaluation, right? Like the project itself or the program. And actually, as an institution, we are also evaluated for the whole program and the support on the long term. So of course, like having some tangible outputs like KPI for research, like publication and so on, is a very strong output.
Understand.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And a related question here, again, this is for you, Guillaume, and for Benoit. So they're asking about the PhD SIAM program and saying, could you give a couple of examples, maybe some some examples of projects that have been funded in the past?
There's in the previous presentation that you actually organized in NSTDA, we had a nice presentation from CIRAD, and I'd like to, maybe I can send you the link to this presentation, because we saw very clearly it was the predecessor of Michel who nicely aggregate the different PHCs to set up a strong partnership with Thailand. And it was really clear that it was solid because of a number of supports, such as Few PHC and Success PHCs. So it's quite specific, but I can send you this information if you like, because we can see that. So refer to this presentation. And there's other, of course, examples. We have a lot on that. So it's, but what I can say, not only on the thematics, but it's very important in terms of recommendation. It's like promote new cooperation, number one. I mean, besides the research excellence, academic excellence, is promote new cooperation, promote co-publication, encourage PI to increase the implication of young researchers in the publication and the mobilities. That's very important. Increase the participation of young researchers in the projects. Encourage women research to apply. Encourage young PI to apply. And eventually, how about the next step? Encourage people to scale up to another level, not only the bilateral program. So it's not like a recurrent, program. It has to be seen as a starting point, or like a triggering point for new collaboration, more solid. As you see, that it's founded not research but mobilities. I don't know if I answer your question, just to give you some example.
I think you did. I think it's very clear. And if you can send us that link, we can share that. And just a reminder to all participants this morning that all of these presentations will be shared with you immediately following today's session. So don't worry about trying to grab all the information right now. You will have access to all the presentations shortly. I think now maybe we'll move to another French research institute that is based, has an operation or a base here in Thailand, and that's the French National Research Institute for Sustainable Development. Dr. Olivier Evrard, who's the representative for IRD here in Thailand, he can't join us today, but through the wonders of modern technology, he will actually be speaking with us. He's kindly put together a very good presentation with his commentary. So let's hear from Dr. Olivier Evrard, who's the IRD representative here in Thailand.
I am the representative in Bangkok of the French Research Institute for Sustainable Development. Thanks to NSTDA to allow us to present you our research institute and our funding schemes for collaborative research between Thailand and France. Unfortunately, I am unable to be there in person today, but my colleague, Emmanuel Paradis, will attend and can answer your question if you have any afterwards. So about IRD, first, we are a public institute under two line ministries, the Ministry of Higher Education and Research on one hand, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the other hand. We are working since nearly 75 years in tropical and Mediterranean countries. We cover all scientific disciplines with a focus on sustainable solution to global challenges, or SDGs. Focus also on fair scientific partnership with tropical and Mediterranean countries. And finally, our main goal is to inform public policies with scientific discoveries. So we have, as you can see, more or less 2,000 staff. 35% of these staff are posted abroad. We have 5 main areas of expertise related to our 5 scientific departments. The first one is concerned mostly with hydrology, volcanology, for instance, and focus on understanding global change, quantifying hazards, and mitigating risks. The second area of expertise is focused on biodiversity. The third one is focused on ocean resources. And the fourth department works mostly on health science. And finally, we have also a department working on social science and humanities. So as you can see, our geographic dispersion allows us to work in South America, West and Central Africa, Eastern Africa, and South and Southeast Asia. So the key point here I would like to explain is about our funding schemes. We have 5 main programs. The first one is called Young Associated Teams with IRD. So a point to understand clearly here is that the people who are applying for this scheme don't need to be young. It's only the nature of the collaboration who can be sometimes recent. So this kind of funding scheme allow the partners to get between 10 and 15,000 euro per year during 3 years from IRD. The second funding scheme is called International Joint Laboratories. So it is considered a bit like the flagship of the funding scheme in IRD because it can allow the researchers to get 40 to 50,000 euro per year during 5 years, and this contract can be renewed at least once, which make a total duration of 10 years. Those teams who are applying for international joint laboratories are usually experienced teams who are working together since many years and who have already applied for other funding schemes such as Young Associated Teams. The third funding scheme is called International Research Networks. It allows the teams to get around 15,000 euro per year during 4 years. The difference with the other funding scheme in this case is that it involves at least two countries in the same geographic area. So let's take an example. A team from IRD France is collaborating with a Thai team, and they want to apply for this funding scheme. They will then need to collaborate also with a third country, let's say Laos or Vietnam, for instance, in order to apply for this funding. The fourth kind of funding scheme is a classic one. We are funding PhD grants that we called ARTS and postdoc grants. So you can see the number, it's more or less around 12,000 euro for one person for 3 years, with study in France and also fieldwork in Thailand, for instance. And finally, the fifth funding scheme is called Strengthening Research Capacities. So it's between 10 and 15,000 euro per year during 3 years. It's devoted to the organization of workshop, international conference, or summer schools, for instance, and it's focusing really on transmission of knowledge and improving technological or know-how about specific areas of scientific work. One thing to understand is, which is a key point here, is that all these funding schemes need to be applied to and implemented through our IRD researchers and or research units with the help of representative offices. So the main point is that 2 researchers from Thailand and from France must be already collaborating together and have experience of cooperation work in order to apply for one of those schemes. And then, of course, the representative office in Thailand can help them to apply for it and to contact the right person in France, at the headquarters in France. You can see all the deadlines and all the details for these various applications on our website, www.ird.fr. Evrard, sorry. A quick overview of our current activities in Thailand show you that we are working mostly currently in three main areas of expertise. The first one is health science with a big project in Chiang Mai on transmission of HIV from mother to child, as well as we work also on hepatitis. We have specialists of health science working on vector-borne disease in central and southern Thailand as well, such as work done on Zika, for instance. We have colleagues working on biodiversity modeling in Khao Yai Park, but also in central area of Thailand. And Emmanuel Paradis, who will talk shortly after me, will probably give you more details about that. And finally, a third area of expertise is social science with a project at the moment, one project on the socio-ecological aspects of air pollution, as well as in central Thailand, water governance and urban heritage project. We have several key partners in Thailand, including the main Thai universities, Chulalongkorn, Kasetsart, Maidol, Chiang Mai, for instance. But also we are collaborating often with Thai government agencies, such as Land Development Department, or of course the National Science and Technology Development Agency, NSTDA, and especially biotech. And we are also collaborating with other institutions such as the National Research Council of Thailand or Thailand International Cooperation Agency. If we look back in the last 5 years or so, we have had 31 researchers on deployment, altogether nearly 150 months of research mission in Thailand. And as for the students, if we include all the other ASEAN countries, we have supported so far around 30 students for their master and PhD. That's all for me. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask Emmanuel or to contact me on our website, and I will, of course, answer you as soon as possible. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Well, thank you, Olivier. It feels a bit strange, thank you, because you're not here to hear the thanks, but we are very fortunate to have Olivier's colleague, Dr. Olivier's colleague with us today. He is Dr. Emmanuel Paradis, and maybe I can invite him to perhaps share a few comments and answer some questions. So, Emmanuel, can I turn this over to you?
Thank you, Simon. Can you hear me?
Very good.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, of course, thank you to Olivier. I will transmit the thanks, of course. I can just add a few words on this presentation, which was very clear. I can say that right now I'm collaborating with the National Biobank of Thailand, or NBT, which is a part of NSTDA. And just to summarize quickly our research, the main goal of our research is to have a better understanding of how local biodiversity contributes to sustainable development in Thailand, but also at a regional level. We have submitted a project to IRD's Young Team program mentioned by Olivier in his presentation. And as he said, we will work in particular in the Khao Yai National Park, but also in other locations in eastern Thailand. So during the next 2 years, I will be based at NBT, and you can contact me directly or through my colleagues there, Anutara, Nicha, or Komsit, who are my direct colleagues in NBT. So please do not hesitate to come to us and discuss about a possible PhD or even a postdoc or scientific collaboration with us. Thank you a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Again, at the risk of repeating myself, but I think this is an important message. So you've got researchers like Dr. Emmanuel, you've got Dr. Michel, Dr. Olivier. These are people that are here in Bangkok. So for the Thai researchers listening this morning, I think this is a tremendous opportunity that you've got people, that not only are easily accessible, but have considerable experience in the region, understand, the research landscape in Thailand and the region. So I think this is really a unique opportunity for you researchers looking to collaborate with France, that you have a strong network here already. And another point, I just in listening to Olivier's presentation, it struck me, through cooperating with IRD or through CIRAD, you're plugging into a very big international network. As we saw from the CIRAD and from the IRD presentations, these are research organizations that have a presence globally. So I think that is again something that is unique and offers, in the long term, I think tremendous opportunity. One question I have here, this comes back to you, Guillaume Benoit, just about the, again, PhD Siam. Just, what, again, it's a little bit of a general question, but I understand what they're asking, which is, what are you looking for in an application? What makes a good PhD Siam application? Benoit or Guillaume, may I ask you to address that?
Yes, thank you. Maybe if you want to complete the more, but maybe I just like to remind you the evaluation process. Once we receive the application, it is sent to a pool of experts, right, in Thailand and in France, in parallel, independently. So the experts, first, there's a number of experts. Depending on the topics, it will be reviewed by the expert in the field, right, assigned for the expert in the field. And then the expert in the field will look at different components, criteria. So first is excellent research. So how the applicants can demonstrate that this is a high-level research to be conducted. This is number one, based, of course, on the experience of research or publication made already. Ideally, if there's some co-publication, it's good, but it's not a criteria. There's also, of course, the complementarity of the teams from France and Thailand. Is it balanced in a way that it's both beneficial for the two teams? So in terms of research topics and complementarity, let's say I have in mind, for example, someone's doing some modeling and the other side will be experimental work. Then it can be complementary, to build up a project for both sides, prospecting, modeling, and experience, right? For example. Then, so the complementarity of the teams, and of course, their knowledge and experience in the field, eventually. And then also how, and this can be also very important to take into account, is how the competencies of the teams in terms of research, right, for both sides, and also the interest for the cooperation. So interest for the cooperation, what is beneficial, how the applicants will demonstrate the interest for the collaboration to be built on the short term with 2 years, but eventually more than 2 years, right? What are the objectives on long term? And also, how about the involvement of young people? So is it for senior researcher to travel or not? I mean, if it's only senior who travel, that's quite a negative point. So it's really good to, negative point, according to the criteria for evaluation. Because the idea, again, I'd like to insist on that, is the participation of young researchers is very important as a PI or as a part of the team. So these are, number one, I would say, excellence of research, competencies, also complementarity. And of course, the project submitted in Thailand should be the same that the project submitted in France. So because it's independent submission, right? But at the same time, so it is evaluated based on the same project proposal by 2 different teams. And after we have a committee to review these 2 marks and grades from both sides. And that's also a part of the process, right? So if there's discrepancies, like very different grades, that's not necessarily positive, right? Or it has to be discussed to select that project. So that's maybe quite general, my answer, but that's the main criteria driven for the first step evaluation.
Thank you, Guillaume. Very clear. I think now maybe we will let you hear, or we've got sort of the next part of this morning's program. This is an opportunity for you to hear from alumni, basically, of these programs, these various programs. You know that how they received their scholarship, why they chose France. But this is firsthand experience, so please ask lots of questions from them. These are you know, your colleagues who have successfully applied for different French programs, have returned to Thailand in some cases, and they're here to share their experience with you. So the first presentation is from a colleague actually here at NSTDA, but she is working at Institut Pasteur in France, and she's been collaborating with France for many years now, though she's still very young. Her name is Dr. Panrampoi Namperchan France, also known as Dr. Jibby. And there's a video that has just been put together highlighting the work that she's doing at Institut Pasteur, which is COVID related. So it's a short video, just 3 minutes or so, but let's hear from her, and she can talk about how she began her collaboration with Pasteur and what she's doing there now. So this video was actually filmed of her at Pasteur, Institut Pasteur in Paris. So let's see the video.
Hi. Hello. At that time, 2013, I was asking Evrard if they can connect me to any virology lab in Europe. They connect me to Institut Pasteur, so I come to visit in one day, and in 2013, and I'm still here today. I call them like the 3 C's. So first you have to connect, then you have to communicate, and then you have to collaborate. We communicate on sharing what we have, our knowledge. For example, like PDV, there's really no PDV outbreak in Europe, but it's particularly in Asia. But in Europe, for example, Institut Pasteur, they have platform for vaccine development. So with our knowledge from Asia, the coronavirus of PDV and the platform in Institut Pasteur. So we then, once we communicate our knowledge, then we can collaborate on what project we can initiate between Europe and ASEAN. The project that I got funded is called PiggyVax. So it's a pig vaccine against PDV, coronavirus. So these are collaboration between biotech or NSTDA in Thailand and Institut Pasteur here. So it will be a project that have a benefit sharing for both Thailand and Europe. Our lab was responsible to develop a COVID vaccine using the measles-based vector, which our work it just recently published in Nature Communication. It's been a long, hard year, but it was very interesting. So the spotlight is on science fully last 2 years, which is and we going in the speed of that we never done before. The result that we got, it's interesting, and I feel like I contribute to something. It will come back again and again and again, and so this is just a matter of time. So to study fully the pathogenesis of SARS-CoV-2 will help us be more prepared for the next pandemic. What I did is I sent a rap video on my project of reverse genetics of PDV, which is a coronavirus.
Piglet, immune stimulated, the pigs are protected.
It's all on YouTube, so if you're interested to see, it's called Pigs Don't Cry. Focus on what you like and what you love to do. And I think hone that skill, for example, with the reverse genetics development, and find a tool that you could have in your pocket and to use this in the future. Because if you have the tool, and this tool can be applied to many things. Thank you.
So there is a wonderful example of collaboration that is existing now between France and Thailand. What doesn't come across as clearly as perhaps it should in that video is that Dr. Jimmy, she received a junior research fellowship. So she first went to Pasteur on a small grant that she got, a travel grant, and then she got the junior research fellowship. And following the Franco-Thai Junior Research Fellowship, she then applied for the Marie Curie. These are postdoctoral fellowships, and she was able to successfully receive that postdoc fellowship. And then she went on to participate in another EU-funded project. The point I'm making here is that she, the first grant led to a second grant, led to a third grant, led to a fourth grant, and that explains why she's still maintaining her connections here at NSTDA at biotech, but she's also working in the lab at Institut Pasteur. Maybe I could just before we invite two other alumni to join us. This is a question for Emmanuel, Dr. Emmanuel Paradis. How did your collaboration start with NSTDA? That might be interesting for others to know. How did you first connect with NSTDA? And how did your research sort of collaboration develop? Emmanuel?
Yeah, it started really like a kind of a bottom-up way of working, like we like to do that in research. We started to have a PhD program with Burapha University. So you can connect that with the presentation by Guillaume. And I had the opportunity to travel several times in Thailand and initiate a collaboration with Burapha. And then from Burapha, we started a young team application to IRD. And progressively, I moved to interact more closely with NSTDA. And that's why now, starting from this month, I collaborate directly with NSTDA and NBT.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
I think now maybe let's hear from a couple of other alumni, one of whom received a junior research fellowship, like Dr. Jibby, and the second alumnus who received a PhD SIAM grant. So first, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Gendria Wangdi. She is from Saranari University, and she received a junior research fellowship program through the French Embassy here in Bangkok. So could I ask you just briefly to introduce yourself and also just how you, in sort of relatively short answer, how did you come to receive this fellowship? Why did you choose France? Why did you choose that particular fellowship? So, Dr. Gentry?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Gendria Wangdi. My nickname is Jane. Can call me Jane. Right now, I am a postdoctoral researcher in Saranari University at CIRAD. Actually, I was the PhD student like 5 years ago. And at the time, I got the scholarship from IID in France also. The name of my scholarship is ARTS program. So some of my scholarship already mentioned in the previous speaker that they're talking about the scholarship. After I finished my PhD, I also try to apply like postdoc grant. One that I found is the junior fellowship program. It's actually I know this from the person who got this scholarship before, and also they introduced me about this scholarship. So I am interested about this scholarship, and then I try to discuss with my supervisor in Thailand that we have some research to develop, and also we try to connect my supervisor in France, and then we think that we should develop some proposal and apply to this program. So, and then when I apply, and then I asked like from the embassy to like interview, and then I got the scholarship. Yeah. Actually, before I got this scholarship, I have to like discuss more about what kind of the research I would like to do, and it should be like a new research topic, and also to like improve my research skill. Yes, and then we just like develop the proposal. Yeah. So I think to apply the scholarship, we should have like the connection, yeah, to get the scholarship, because of the connection is important. That we have to like have the person who like pointed which way that we can apply. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jen. So let's hear from another colleague who received both the Franco-Thai PhD scholarship, but also a Franco-Thai mobility PhD SIAM. So let's hear from them, and then we'll open it up for discussion with Dr. Jen and Dr. Wanali, who I'm about to introduce. So Dr. Wanali Klumchai, she is assistant professor at the Faculty of Physical Therapy at Mahidol University. And she did both her master's in France, she did a PhD Franco-Thai scholarship, and she also received a Franco-Thai mobility PhD SIAM grant. So maybe I can ask Dr. Wanali to introduce herself and kind of share her experience of collaborating with France. So, Dr. Wanali?
Hello, do you hear me clearly?
We can hear you very clear.
Okay, actually, I prepared some few slides, but I can't share it. I don't know why. Never mind. Actually, I have like a long relationship with Campus France, and I got a scholarship from.
Dr. Wanali, sorry to interrupt. You can share you should be able to share your slides now. Hit the share tab at the bottom.
It's not allowing me to do that. It's like that. I need to configure something in system preference. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. It's just like I'll let you share photos. And actually, I received a scholarship from Campus France for my PhD study. Since like 2011, long times ago. And after I finished, I come back to Thailand and teach at Mahidol University. And just last year, I got a PhD SIAM scholarship. So I actually the aim of these programs, I would like my students, my master and my PhD student, to join to collaborate with the French team. So the aim is like, okay, so I bring my students with me this time, and I just come back to Thailand last week. So yes, and yes, so I got the scholarship since last year, but because of COVID, I could not travel. So this year I decided to travel to France, but still we can like even COVID situations is not really good, we can still collaborate with the French team. And yes, it's very good opportunity that my young students, master and PhD student can join and co with the laboratory over there. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Wanali. This is a question for you both. Just, I mean, what for you has been the biggest benefit of receiving these different French grants in terms of, when I say benefits, in terms of how it's benefited both your research career, but also your own career development, your own personal development. What are the benefits of these scholarships? So, did you want to start, Dr. Wanali, to answer that?
Yeah, sure. And actually, thanks to the French scholarships, I got my job in Mahidol University after that. And, I can start like a collaborate. I still collaborate with the French partners since I finished my PhD. And with that, I can publish my work together with the French team. With this, it's also the aim of Mahidol University too, that we need to collaborate with the international partner. So I have that before. So this is a good opportunity that is not difficult for me to continue to collaborate with the French team. And yeah, so thanks to the collaborations, we can do research together. And after finish the programs, the PhD, we will continue to, even without any funding, we will continue to collaborate the research together, and which is excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wanali. Dr. Genjera, how about for you? What sort of has been the benefits of receiving the Junior Research Fellowship, and in terms of your ongoing research, your career development, and your sort of continued collaboration with France?
Yeah. For the scholarship that I got, it's like a change my life because of since I finished my master degree, I don't know that which way I could do. So then I got a scholarship. It changed my life because of I really love to do the research, and then I would like to improve myself. For any part of the experiment, I would like to learn more technique or some information for scientists. So this scholarship give me a lot. From right now, it improved myself a lot, and also let me to continue my research and also keep the connection of the team in France also. Yeah.
So clearly, for both of you, the ongoing collaboration is very important. Wasn't just sort of you do your fellowship, that ends, your collaboration with France ends. It's been ongoing in both your cases. Guillaume, did you want to make a comment or on the sort of the alumni experience?
I don't want to be long. I'd just like to thank them and say that I think you can see through the experience how they can testimony and be also ambassador for this program. I think you promote a lot, but we can see also the articulation between the different programs. That's what I'd like to maybe to emphasize here. No matter the type of program, it's seen as a continuum for different types of demand and people, for example, students, young researchers, and mobility. You can start from anywhere and connect with others. So it means from a French side, as you said, there's some programs here presented by, for example, arts, PhD program from IRD and other types of scholarship. This is something we are happy to see, that you can pick in different places and source of funding and schemes to go into your career and launch your career. So it's quite open and quite diverse, and that's also be that's also the case for the European, because we are in the European and Research Innovation Days. European also schemes under your control, Simon. But I mean, there's a lot of interaction also with a potential program from Europe, provided by Europe, and that's also a gate, I would say, to Europe in a way. So it's also good to see the portals. I'd like to also echo what you usually support is like the portals, research portals, like the websites to present the different research portals and mobility of researchers, like Your Access. Campus France is of course for France, but Your Access is broadly for Europe. And you have a lot of information there. And I'm sure because there's plenty of program, you can find something which suits your demands. And if you don't find enough information, please interact with the people here today or with us. If we can help, we will be happy to do so.
Thanks, Guillaume. I mean, certainly this is a message that comes through loud and clear to me when I hear, from Dr. Evrard, Dr. Wan Ali, Dr. Jibby, who I know, that these fellowships are as Guillaume was saying, that they open up a lot of other opportunities. It's not just a one-off experience, but allows you to build long-term research collaboration, introduces you to different funding opportunities, as Dr. Jibby highlighted in her video. So I think this is, when you're applying for these, this is something to keep in mind, that this is not just about, a single PhD fellowship, but it's a beginning of long-term collaboration with France. A couple of quick questions. So again, we come back to those that are researchers who are here in Thailand, but they're non-Thai nationals. I think we've answered that if you should sort of check with the Campus France office in your respective country, or the French embassy, and see what programs there might exist there. There's a couple of specific programs, maybe Emmanuel and can answer this. Well, actually, both Emmanuel and Michel. So somebody's interested in wildlife population ecology, human-wildlife interaction, habitat destruction. Sorry. So what would your advice to them be? Emmanuel or Michel?
Yeah, I can. Actually, I'm happy to answer that question because that's really one of the core questions we are trying to address under the GREES network. And, I was personally trained as a researcher, as an ecologist and a vet. So looking at wildlife, livestock, human interactions is really a core question that we're trying to address. So we would be very happy to interact with whoever asked that question and to see what kind of possibilities for interaction and collaboration in the future. So I don't know whether it's a senior researcher or more junior, but anyways, please contact me and we would be very happy to discuss about possible joint ventures. In addition, I just had one comment to the great, testimony that we had with the 3 alumni. That's, I think that's why we're working. To try to have young researchers that are now very much, have really got incredible benefits from this kind of collaboration. And there is only one advice we would like to give to young researchers from Thailand is just be ambitious. Just give it a try. It's sometimes difficult to get out of your comfort zone, but I think this is really something that you should do. And you've had very clear opportunities to do it. So do it with CIRAD because we're the best, but I'm just joking, do it with whoever you want because there are already opportunities. And this is all it takes is really to be ambitious and just try to get out of your comfort zone and give it a try.
Thanks, Michel. Emmanuel, do you have a comment on this area of interest, this wildlife population ecology, human-wildlife interaction? from an IRD perspective? I think we're not connecting with Emmanuel at the moment, so let's leave that. But perhaps I can just come back to Dr. Gengiri and Dr. Wanali and follow up on the advice that Michel has just provided. So what would be your single piece of advice for a young researcher who is participating today? What would be your single bit of advice to them about collaborating with France and these various funding opportunities? Dr. Wanali?
Yes, why you just try it? Why not? Because there are a lot of opportunity, and Campus France provide the scholarship every year. So if you try this year and you miss it, you try another one. So the opportunity is there. Why then you try it? That's it.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Dr. Wanali. Dr. Gengiri?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes, for me as well, they have to try, because if you love to do the research, you love to do something like to improve yourself, you have to find a scholarship and apply it, and then you will got it. Yeah.
Well, on that positive note, that encouraging advice, I think we're running a little over time. So unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wrap things up for this morning. But as I said, you will have all of the presentations very shortly. And, in those presentations, you've got the contact details for people like Michel, Benoit, Guillaume, Olivier. These are people who are all here in Bangkok. So, they're in your neighborhood, and you should take advantage of that for any questions that you have. There are a couple of questions that have come through that are specifically directed at IRD and it's CIRAD. So I would encourage those that ask those questions to please contact the research centers directly. But for me, it's been a very interesting session. I always learn a lot in the sessions with France. The range of opportunities to me is really quite exceptional. And as you've heard from the alumni, you've just got to try. So that's all from me. Maybe I'll pass it over to Guillaume for some closing remarks.
No, I'd like to thank very much, because it's diverse also in the presentation. I like the very short sentence, try never hurts. So that would be my final word, and thank you very much. Thank you.
So there we are, trying never hurts. That should be the theme of the session today. So thank you to all the presenters today for spending time with us and for the very informative presentations. I have one request for you, and that is that you will be receiving a feedback form, I think, when you log out. Please take a few minutes and fill that in, because we do read those forms, and that helps us improve in terms of offering future events like this one this morning. And I would also encourage you to take a look at the European Research and Innovation Days agenda for the workshops coming up. As I said, there are a couple of interesting sessions on how to get published and also how to define the impact of your research. So these are training workshops that should be of interest to you. They are free of charge. So on that note, thank you all very much. We hope you found it useful, informative, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. So thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.